I want to talk about incentives because I think that's actually more interesting for this group. So a little bit about Radiant. We're a new law firm. We're English ABS. We specialize just in commercial contracts. We do managed legal services, which is supporting contracts, big companies, day-to-day contracts, basically doing the stuff they would have otherwise used an in-house team for because the law firm's too expensive, of course. We've seen that shift internally. So we're kind of the step after that shift to when they go, actually, we'd rather do the small stuff and give it to other people and we'll do the sexy stuff, if you will. So typically we do got sport contracts up to about 5 million quid. We did a £1 billion deal in our first year. So kind of our background when we started was a bunch of ex-lawyers. I used to be a partner at Latham doing outsourcing deals. Before I had my Jerry Maguire moment there. The other thing we do is kind of contract review projects. So we know quite a lot about contracts because not only we specialize in it, but we do a lot of data. And we also kind of set up the firm with opinions. Our purpose is to fix the contracting problem. Kind of our core premise was that we need to get better at how contracting's done. And that in order to get better at how contracting's done, we need to look at the incentives in play, which is kind of super important. So I said 10 years old now, and I just wanted to cover 3 points that we've learned, right? May be helpful for you guys. If you haven't already set up a subsidiary ripping us off, then you've probably got a working group looking at it. Although as BCLP noted recently, it's quite hard to actually do right. Be wary, but if you want it, come on. So 3 things. And if you want to know about technology and contracts, I read a book recently about this called Sign Here, The Enterprise Guide to Closing Contracts Quickly, where I explained exactly how we work, because at Radiant, we give everything away. So 3 points about contracting. First of all, speed matters. At Radiant, we are currently running yesterday at 91% half-day turnarounds. That means that 91% of the contracts we touched yesterday, we turned in half a day. Either drafting it or reviewing the other side. I think we're probably by some way the fastest on the planet at this stuff. Certainly can't find anyone closer. If any of you got data to show you're faster, I'd love to hear it. The interesting result of that is that Net Promoter Score, we went down half-day route, went from 50 to 85. Well, it actually went to 100 for 3 months, but we're currently running about 85 this year. In other words, clients actually care about speed. It has a huge impact. This is the polling the business users after each matter. But the interesting thing about that, it would be impossible to do this if we had a timesheet culture. Radiant is fixed price only, and we do not keep timesheets, and therefore we do not incentivize people in the firm to actually spend longer working on matters. Second point I'd make is that data, lean, and process improvement matter. Right. The way we do everything and the way we've managed to get better is we've standardized the work, right? This is radical thinking. We're not a partnership, we're a company. It'd be impossible to do what we're doing in a partnership because, as we all remember as young lawyers, those are lawyers on the firm, on the call, the first thing we learn is to be a chameleon, right? We learned that the first thing you have to do is just fix the style of whichever partner you're working for. You know, some people like it like that, some people like it like that, you know. I believe all of your roles probably comes down to cat herding. I feel for you. It's not like I don't have cats, but we have one way of working at Radiant Law so we can move together. And if you don't have one way of working and you don't have vectors for spreading innovation across the firm, doesn't mean you can't win innovation awards. There are plenty of those going for that lone partner out in the somewhere at the back end fiddling away with stuff. I used to win those awards at FT on a regular basis, but you can't actually move as a team, and therefore you can't live but move. And then the third thing that we learn is that reasonableness matters. I've got data that shows that a single unreasonable provision can make a project or contracts on average run 4.5 times longer to close. Right? If we cared about actually getting deals done faster, we'd be a lot more reasonable. But of course, if you're charging by the hour, what's the incentive for being reasonable, right? What's the incentive for having short, clear, reasonable, relevant terms? And similarly, in the in-house team, right? What is the incentive for being a reasonable provisions if you can be finger pointed at later, right? So if you're not being given the air cover by leadership. So, conclusion, right? There are tons of tools and technologies that can help. I write about them in the book, all about explain how to do it. But until you have the right incentives in place, you can't fix the contracting problem. And that's me.